Let's talk about something that should probably keep you up at night if you're looking to buy a software as a service business. We're going to dive into how a company that looks fantastic on paper can actually be a ticking time bomb, all because of something I like to call Mirage MRR.
So picture this. You find what looks like the perfect micro sauce for sale. The numbers look amazing, the seller's talking a big game, but you've got this nagging feeling in the back of your head. What if this is all just smoke and mirrors? Well, I'm here to tell you that feeling is not only rational, it's probably your best instinct.
Because this is usually the first thing you see. A broker or a seller will point to this big, beautiful number, $20,000 in monthly recurring revenue. They'll show you that glorious chart, the one, heading up and to the right, and they'll say, see, healthy growth. But that number, as tempting as it is, can be one of the biggest lies in the whole deal.
And that brings us right to this core idea. Mirage MRR. It's what happens when that top-line revenue number looks rock solid, but underneath the surface, the actual foundation of the business, customer retention, is totally collapsing. If your customers are leaving just as fast as they're signing up, that revenue isn't real, it's a mirage.
So how do sellers pull this off? Well, it usually comes down to a couple of classic moves. First, they can run some really aggressive promotions right before they list the business for sale. We're talking huge discounts on annual plans, or maybe even lifetime deals that create this massive short-term spike in cash. Or second, they can just light money on fire with ads, constantly pouring new, unsuspecting users into the top of the funnel to replace the ones who are quietly sneaking out the back.
And this is honestly the perfect metaphor for a high-churn business, the leaky bucket. I mean, just imagine trying to fill a bucket that's riddled with holes. You can turn the hose on full blast, pour water in as fast as you can, but it's always gushing out the bottom. For a minute, the water level might look okay, but you're just fighting a battle you're destined to lose. That's a high-churn SaaS in a nutshell.
And the reason that bucket is so leaky comes down to one critical metric: customer churn. It's really simple. It's just the rate that your customers are hitting that cancel subscription button. And look, for any subscription business, this isn't just a health metric. It is the health metric, period. Let's put some real numbers on this to make it sink in. Imagine a seller is spending 15 grand a month, every single month on ads, just to break even, just to replace the users who are canceling after only 30 days. You're not actually buying a stable business at that point. The revenue might look steady, but what you're really buying isn't an asset.
You're buying a treadmill, and this slide just lays it out so perfectly. A real, stable business gets its revenue from happy customers who stick around for the long haul. That's how you get sustainable growth. But the treadmill, that thing is fueled by a revolving door of unhappy users. Its growth is an illusion that requires you to spend more and more on marketing just to stay in the same place. Okay, so if the business is a treadmill, how do sellers hide the fact that you're just running in place? Well, that brings us to the biggest red flag of them all, the screenshot. Sellers absolutely love to send you these nice, clean screenshots of their Stripe dashboard. They look official, they look convincing, but they are incredibly easy to manipulate without actually, lying. Here's the classic pump and dump playbook. About 2 months before listing the business, the seller runs a crazy promotion, 90% off the annual plan or get a lifetime deal. The Stripe chart shoots up, the valuation talks start to get really exciting, but then you get the keys. And a month later, all those impulse buyers realize the product isn't for them. And bam, the cancellations, the chargebacks, they all start pouring in and your revenue just falls off a cliff. And this all leads to what is, without a doubt, the single most important rule of due diligence. I mean, burn this into your brain. Never, ever accept static screenshots as proof of anything. You have to demand read-only access to the real deal. Stripe, Paddle, Baremetrics, whatever they're using. If a seller refuses, well, that refusal is the answer you're looking for. It tells you everything you need to know. All right, enough with the doom and gloom. We've identified the problem. Now let's talk about the solution. How do you, the smart buyer, expose this leaky bucket before you even think about making an offer? Let's walk through a super simple 3-step audit that'll cut right through all the noise. These are your 3 secret weapons. Think of these as your X-ray glasses for seeing the true health of a business. First, we're going to isolate user cohorts. Second, we'll separate the fluff, the gross MRR, from the real stuff, the net MRR. And third, we're going to run the ultimate stress test, LTV versus CAC. Let's break them down.
Step 1 is all about cohort analysis. Now, that might sound a little fancy, but all it really means is grouping users by the month they signed up. And why is it so critical? Because month 1 retention always looks pretty good. People are kicking the tires. Even month 2 can be decent. But month 3? Month 3 is where the truth comes out. That's when you find out if people are actually getting long-term value from the product.
And this table just shows it perfectly. This is exactly what you're looking for. Take a look at the folks who signed up in January. After 1 month, 95% are still there. Awesome. 2 months, 70%. Not bad. But look at month 3. Whoosh, it just falls off a cliff to 40%. And you see the exact same pattern in February. This isn't just normal churn, folks. This is a massive red flag that there's a fatal flaw somewhere in the product itself.
Okay, next up, step 2. You have to look past that flashy top-line number, the gross MRR, and get to the net MRR. The formula is actually really simple. You just take the new revenue you brought in, then you subtract the revenue you lost from people who churned, and you also subtract the revenue you lost from people who downgraded to a cheaper plan. If that net MRR number is negative, you're looking at a leaky bucket with a fresh coat of paint. And that brings us to the final step, the big one. This is the ultimate test of whether you're looking at a real business or just a hobby. It's the LTV to CAC test. LTV is simply lifetime value, how much money you can expect to make from one customer over time. And CAC, that's your customer acquisition cost, how much you had to pay to get them in the door. And here's the magic number you're looking for. A healthy, sustainable SaaS business needs to have, at a minimum, a 3-to-1 ratio of LTV to CAC. So if it costs you $100 to get a new customer, they had better generate at least $300 in value for you over their lifetime. If that ratio is just 1-to-1, you're not buying a business. You're buying yourself a very stressful job managing churn.
So, after all of this, what's the big idea? What's the one thing you need to remember? It's that you have to completely shift your mindset. You are not shopping for revenue. You are shopping for retention. Revenue is just a byproduct of happy customers who stick around.
Because let's be crystal clear, a SaaS business with high churn isn't a high growth opportunity. It's not. It's a revolving door. New customers come in, old customers leave, and the business itself never actually goes anywhere. It's stuck. So here's the bottom line. Please do not let yourself get hypnotized by those pretty up and to the right revenue charts. You have to push past the vanity metrics. You have to demand the real numbers, demand to see the cohort data. That is where the real story is told.
And that really just leaves us with one final question for you to think about. The next time you're looking at what seems like a perfect business for sale, what are you going to ask to see first? Are you going to get distracted by the top-line revenue, or are you going to demand to see the truth that's hidden in its retention?